Yo, what's going on, guys? So I'm here to review the Canon R7. So I have been using the R7 for I want to say about 5 or 6 months now, and I've held off on actually doing a little review on the R7, my thoughts, my impressions on it, because I actually wanted to get some real world examples of me using it and not just giving you guys some like tech specs on it, because tech specs only go so far, and I feel that a lot of cameras nowadays, even the lower end cameras or mid-budget cameras such as the R7, they all pretty much shoot, 4K up to 60 FPS now. They all shoot up to 120 FPS in, 1080 or even sometimes 4K. So I want to actually use the camera on sets and then give my honest feedback on it. So if you're watching this video, you've probably done a little bit of research into it and you know that this camera is priced at $1,500 US, which for me is about $2,000 Canadian, maybe just a little under, which is very, very affordable for what this camera has to offer. So starting things off with the image quality, I'm like just blown away with Canon's color science and their image quality. I think it's super sharp. The colors on Canon and color grading C-Log 3 footage is actually the main reason why I swapped from Lumix to Canon. So I used to be a Lumix GH5 and S1 user. Actually, I used to use the GH4 when it pretty well first came out. So like I was using Lumix for probably I want to say about 5 years until I recently switched over to Canon 100%. So again, my reviews on cameras, I don't get too technical because I only care about the things that I'm actually going to use. So this camera does shoot 4K up to 60 FPS, which is awesome. So we can get that slow-mo in 4K and also crop in a little bit if need be. And then it also shoots 120 FPS at 1080p. The 120, it's not 4K, which isn't the end of the world, but for me personally, using the R7 now, if I had the option, like if I was gonna go take a shot, like a B-roll shot, and I was like, okay, I can either shoot this in 4K 60 for my slow-mo or in 120. Does it need to be in 120 FPS? Not really. Okay, well then let's just opt for 4K 60. So unless something actually has to be shot in super, super slow motion, I'm honestly just not even gonna bother with the 1080 120 and just shoot in 4K 60. This camera specifically, I have noticed that there is quite the image quality jump from 4K 60 to 1080p 120, and that's why I always have this mental note in the back of my mind when I use this camera, which I'm actually filming off of right now. If I don't need the 120, why scale down to that 1080p quality when I could shoot in 4K at 60 and there being a really noticeably higher image quality when shooting in 4K on this camera? Okay, so the reason why I got the R7 and not my Canon R5C first was because I actually recently left my old video production company. We actually dissolved the company. So while we were selling off all of our assets, like we obviously can't just sell assets like that. So basically we were selling our assets, and when we'd sell something like our Red Komodo cinema camera, we would basically split that money 50-50 for myself and my other business partner. So basically I just didn't have the cash flow to just go and spend on like a $7,000 setup for the Canon R5C right off the hop when I started freelancing, and I was just so fresh into it and honestly didn't have a lot of freelance clients right off the jump. The Canon R7 basically like was new and came out about 5 or 6 months ago, and I was like, you know what, it shoots 4K up to 60, it's got in-body image stabilization, I can also live stream off of it, it's a perfect YouTubing camera, which I post YouTube content. Why not pull the trigger on it? And eventually I will upgrade to the R5C. So keep in mind, when I did purchase the R7, I went from filming high-end corporate brand commercials strictly off of a Red Komodo 6K cinema camera that has like 16 plus stops of dynamic range to a $1,500 Canon R7. I remember I went and I hit my first shoot with the R7 and I was like, holy crap, like color grading is a pain in the ass now just because I can't push my colors as much. There's just so many little things. Obviously comparing like a $1,500 R7 to, my rig at the time was worth like $13,000-$14,000 for the Red Komodo 6K. There was a huge difference. Now, I will say that, I really had to use my technical filmmaking abilities as well as my lighting to my advantage when using this camera. And I feel that when you dial in your lighting with any Canon camera, that is when a Canon will truly shine. So really the main reason why I got the R7 was because it was eventually going to get bumped from my A cam, my main camera, to my B cam. camera and replacing my 8 cam, the R7, with a Canon R5C, which I have actually done. I found a really good deal on it used. It was barely used by a photographer, and I got it for pretty much like 30% off, and it was a full R5C kit. Let's say you do shoot a lot of interview videos like I do, whether they're internal interview videos or brand story videos, and you want that second camera angle to really up the production quality of your interview videos. You know, it's nice knowing that you don't have to invest in another R5 or C70 or R5C to match that quality. And a lot of the shoots that I do take that do require a second camera angle, such as, you know, using the R7, they are in controlled environments. So at the end of the day, you know, when your lighting is dialed, your camera's image quality, you know, having 8K on the R5C doesn't really matter as much. Again, that is if your lighting is super dialed on set. So really the biggest takeaway for having an R7 as a B cam next to, you know, something that's a little more higher end on the Canon spectrum, such as the R5, R5C, C70, is that, you know, the R7 also does shoot C-Log3 like those other 3 cameras I just mentioned. So it's really easy to actually match the colors from a higher end camera body, such as the R5, R5C, C70 to the R7. So I'm gonna lay over a video right now. So you're watching an interview, and our main camera, this is our 8 cam, is shot off a Canon R6. So it's about $1,000 to $2,000 more expensive than the R7. And here we have the B cam angle, or the second camera angle, which was in fact shot off of the Canon R7. And again, when I was editing this video specifically, color grading the 2 clips, the R6 and the R7, was seriously such a breeze. Like, I literally just had to make minor tweaks to my hue versus saturation curves, and that was about it. When I pasted the coloring attributes from the R6 to the R7 clip, it was literally just adjusting my hue versus saturation curve ever so slightly to match it to the R6. So here's some clips of a project that was actually one of my first projects that I shot with the Canon R7. This is basically just event recap videos for a non-for-profit organization shooting some sports, kids doing sports and whatnot. And these videos as a whole were all priced at around the $2,000 price point, which is pretty crazy because I did at the end of the day shoot this with a Canon R7. Now, I'm not saying that I ripped the client off by shooting it off a budget camera. I literally just used my filmmaking and editing technical skills to my advantage to pull off a really good, clean video for this client. And honestly, the client absolutely loved the videos, and we're still doing even more bigger budget projects to this day. So this is a one-off project for a minor football league in my city, and they just wanted 2 Instagram reels covering the finals for the football event that was going on. And I will say that every single one of these clips were shot in horizontal, and I cropped them for vertical. So I cropped each clip in by quite a lot, and honestly, the quality still turned out awesome. And the client was, at the end of the day, so stoked with the videos. I think I charged them about $1,000. It's a pretty small one-off budget video, and honestly, I'd never shot football in my life before, so I kind of wanted to like try it out. So I did quote a little lower than what I normally would quote for a video. So it was about $500 per video, and they absolutely loved the videos to the point where I'm actually gonna probably put them on a monthly content retainer when the football season does start up again, where I'm basically just giving them X amount of videos per month for the entirety of the football season. And I want to mention as well, for these videos, I would say about 40% of the clips that you're watching were shot in 1080p at 120 and cropped in from horizontal to vertical. And I mean, the quality still looks pretty solid. I was shooting with a 70-200 just on a tripod with a fluid head. And I did actually grab some clips with a Canon 35mm f1.4 on a DJI Ronin RS2. And one of the clips that I did shoot were actually like one of by far my favorite action clips I've ever shot in sports. Was I literally had the 35mm mounted on the R7, filming in 4K 24 FPS at 1/400 shutter speed. So I cranked my shutter speed up just to take out some motion blur, and I was literally running like full tilt next to this football player, using the people on the sidelines as my foreground, and I was literally just running full sprint down the sidelines, tracking this kid running with the football. Epic shot, literally shot off of the R7. I could have told you that I shot that off an R5C and you'd probably believe me because it was just such a fast-paced clip, but because my camera setting was dialed, my shutter speed was bumped up, it just literally turned out looking so unreal. And just the composition of the clip looks so sick. So really just coming back to, you know, using your technical filmmaking skills with a budget-friendly camera, you can still pull off some really, really solid looking video clips. And last but not least, you guys know me for shooting music videos, so I did shoot a music video off the R7, and this was also a low light music video. It was shot at night, indoors. We had to kill the lights. Now I did bring in some aperture lights for this. I was using external lighting, and I would say that, you know, this is a cropped aps-c sensor, so it does have a 1.6 crop, which kind of sucks in my opinion, because obviously we all want a full frame camera to be a low light killer, and you know, you just get a much better image quality on a full frame opposed to an aps-c sensor. But at the end of the day, we made it work. So again, all these shots were in super low light situations, and I did bring in external lighting, so we did have a controlled environment. We needed to have a controlled environment. If we didn't, this video would have been an absolute flop. However, there was one scene that we had all the girls dancing around this like ottoman, and this was a very low light scene. I was pumped at about 1600 ISO, and it was showing a lot of grain. I had to denoise the clip, and it just didn't turn out how I really wanted it to. It was still usable, but not something that was totally up to my standards personally. This is what my first music video looked like. This is what my most recent music video looks like. Now, I don't believe in cheat codes in life, but my online music video course was designed to help you jump the learning curve and teach you how to properly shoot and edit music videos like a pro. This course offers 140 lessons on camera basics, my camera operating secrets, easy to replicate lighting techniques, editing tutorials, and so much more. If you want the cheat code to shoot higher quality music videos that will actually help you get more clients, then enroll in my course that is discounted by 85%. The best part of it all, a one-time fee gives you lifetime access. Click the link below to learn more, and I can't wait for you to get started. I would say personally, when you are using this camera, try your best not to go over like 1250 ISO. That's when you're gonna start to show very noticeable grain on this sensor, unfortunately. But when you are shooting in C-Log, make sure that you're shooting at 800 ISO. That's kind of like the native ISO for shooting in C-Log on the Canon R7, or really any Canon that shoots in C-Log 3 across the board. You wanna be shooting at 800 ISO. So really the other thing that I'm just not really a big fan of on this camera is the in-body image stabilization. It's just not there, and I think that does come with the price of the camera. I mean, at least it does offer it, but I will say if you are getting a shot with the IBIS turned on, try to actually be as steady and stable as possible. Don't just think that the IBIS is gonna do all the work for you and you're gonna get an amazingly stable shot. It's not gonna happen on this camera, trust me. It's a nice little add-on. Does it work perfect? No. Does it come in clutch every now and again? Yes, as long as you're trying to stay as stable as possible. And I mean, when you do pair an average IBIS with a gimbal, you are gonna get some pretty stable clips. So when you are on a gimbal, it's not that noticeable. I'm talking more so like when you're shooting handheld. So who is this camera for? This camera is for people using maybe like a Canon 70D, 90D, even like a Lumix GH4. I would even say like a Canon M50. There's a lot of Canon M50 users out there. When you go from like a Canon M50, the 70D, 90D to an R7, really, really big upgrade right there. Like guys, for $1,500, like this camera body definitely made a splash in the scene. Like $1,500 to some people might seem like a lot of money, and I totally get that. But at the end of the day, guys, like $1,500 for 4K 60 and 120 FPS and 1080, plus you get IBIS, plus you get 2 SD card slots, a flip out screen, plus let's say you want to eventually upgrade maybe a year or two later to a full frame Canon camera, such as, you know, an R5C or whatever comes out in the future. This is a perfect B cam to have, and isn't something that I feel is going to be super outdated even 2 years down the line. I think that it will be still a very relevant, cost-effective way to shoot 4K slow motion. And at the end of the day, I do get a lot of people ask me like, hey, what camera should I upgrade from my Lumix GH4? What camera should I upgrade from my Sony a6000? I literally tell everybody to just get the R7. Everything I mentioned about the R7 is true, and it is a camera that I will be keeping. You're gonna see me shooting with it in the behind the scenes vlogs all the time because I absolutely love this camera. It is compact, it's lightweight, it shoots 4K, it has good color science. It's a great camera. So yeah, with all that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you guys appreciate these types of reviews where, you know, I'm not doing the Gerald Undone thing where he's just diving super deep into the technicals and the science behind the camera, but more so just giving you guys like actual real world results using this camera and my honest feedback on the camera body. So thanks everybody for watching. If you do not subscribe to the channel, make sure you do so. I drop a bunch of filmmaking gems on here. In my opinion, my channel is hella underrated for the type of stuff that I actually cover on this channel. I feel like it's very unique compared to other people's channels, and you will learn a lot if you do subscribe and keep up with the videos. So with all that being said, guys, thanks everybody for watching. We'll catch you in the next video. Peace.